While advisors were celebrating 15% portfolio gains, their businesses were quietly dying. Eden Ovadia saw the hidden crisis no one wanted to name. Organic growth had collapsed. Instead of building more noise, she built Finny, an AI that doesn't scale spam, but scales presence. On today's episode, I'm joined by Eden Ovadia, CEO and founder of Finny, and Victoria Toli. Eden's journey spans machine learning, consulting at BCG's private equity team, and Y Combinator startup Crucible. And Victoria brings deep technical fluency and growth expertise from her time at Uber and Stanford, where she studied symbolic systems and artificial intelligence. Together, they're not automating generic outreach, they're redesigning how financial advisors find the right clients with soul. What makes their story perfect for digital Kaizen for financial advisors is this. Finny doesn't ask advisors to become someone they're not. It simply helps them become better at being who they already are, with less guesswork, less rejection, and more connection. If you've ever felt like prospecting drained your energy instead of deepening your impact, this conversation is for you. Eden, Victoria, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us. We're super excited.
Absolutely. So let's kind of dive into how Finny got started there. Can you take us through your journey through really founding and funding, right? Finny AI. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Victoria, both of our careers started in tech, and then out of college, we both took slightly different paths. I ended up doing Boston Consulting Group, was working on their private equity team. Victoria joined Uber and was actually leading Uber One and the expansion of their Uber One product. But I think the common theme was we both had an itch for entrepreneurship. We both had seen or been exposed to that at some point in our lives and knew that that was eventually our calling. On my side, when I was doing private equity work at Boston Consulting Group, I actually got to work with some of the larger RIAs and wealth management firms in the country, helping them with their inorganic growth. So a lot of M&A work, diligencing potential acquisition targets. And a couple of themes just really struck me when I was doing that type of work. One, the firms that we were looking to acquire that had figured out their organic growth were getting such a bump on the multiples and became like the number one factor that would determine a great outcome for these wealth management firms was if they could scalably and repeatably actually grow organically. So not just referrals, but figure out a way to grow beyond referrals. The other one was that after this kind of crazy bull market for the last 10, 15 years, from 2010 onwards, a lot of advisors had just become a little bit complacent to growth and had thought that, hey, if my business is growing this quickly, why would I do the really uncomfortable thing, which is client acquisition? Why would I face rejection? And so a lot of these advisors kind of had turned away from the good old-fashioned client acquisition through prospecting. But then when the market took a turn and softened a little, a lot of these firms realized that they had to kind of roll up their sleeves and try to find those old skills again and figure out how to bring on new clients, not just through referrals, which was no easy task. And it was around then that all this new technology, like large language models and AI, was coming out. And so Victoria and I put our heads together and we thought, hey, this is clearly a huge problem, really painful problem for a lot of advisors. It's quite important. It's the lifeline of their business. And we think we can actually build something using all this new technology to make it a lot more simple.
I love it. That speaks right to the problem. I mean, as an advisor, I see many advisors who just sit on their laurels, right? They've done really well in the past, and then they build up this book of business, and they just kind of coast, right? We're kind of famous for that. So the idea of going back and really getting back out there and prospecting and marketing, but then dialing down on the clients that are most important to them. As an advisor who works with the retirees, my book is basically aging out. Right? A lot of people are retiring and passing away. So going back and really revisiting prospecting is huge. I think that speaks to a lot of advisors there. Now, Victoria, let's talk a little bit about your background with machine learning and consulting and how that shaped Finny, because I think when we think of prospecting and then we sprinkle AI on top of that, what does that look like, and how did that background play into Finny?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, both of us actually came from the world of machine learning. And per Eden's point, we realized by taking a look at the market that there was actually no tool that was AI native and really vertical specific to the use case. And to contrast that, with Uber, we had an algorithm for pretty much everything: what time to hit you with a specific promotion, what car to try and get you into. Everything was so intelligently algorithmically driven. And then when it came to organic growth, we surveyed the market. We asked so many advisors before getting started. And the answers we got time and time again were advisors using a patchwork of horizontal solutions like PitchBook plus LinkedIn Sales Navigator, tools that were by no means built for that use case. So what we decided to do is really take up the approach of building, on top of OpenAI, on top of Anthropic, leveraging everything that is going on in the tech world. And I think we were able to see that because of our background. And that was true, not only in the early days of FINNY, that's true today. We use AI in pretty much the entire product, but the three areas where AI stands out is in identifying the leads, scraping all the right data, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and forming a database of qualified prospects, then prioritizing those prospects. We use AI there as well, and machine learning specifically. And then we use generative AI to actually go and draft email sequences and generally drip on these prospects. So yeah, I'd say AI helped us come up with the idea and execute on the idea as well.
I love it. I love it. So I want to dive right into kind of your process because, and just as somebody, I've kind of had a negative attitude towards marketing companies like in the past, right? Because if we think before AI, we think about these companies that would purchase lists and then they'd, sell them back to advisors, and it was very expensive and nothing seemed personalized. It seemed like everything was kind of done in mass. Tell me how FINNY automates and optimizes this entire prospecting process. How are you different?
Yeah, so I think the kind of 1.0 version of this was, okay, you buy a list, even for like $5,000-$10,000, you're buying this list of people. And then the more sophisticated advisors were potentially putting that in an Excel, having an EA or having themselves then do research online. So individual line by line, pulling all the information they can about this person, and then cold calling them, drafting cold emails. And so I know someone, just to give you an example, who specifically targets owners of like local pharmacies. And so what they'll actually do is just like go on Google, create these lists, spend 5-10 minutes on every profile, like who's the owner, how old are they, what's their name, find any other information we can about them, put it in an Excel sheet. That'll take 8 hours to draft a list of, I don't know, 100 or more. And then and then the next step is cold calling each one, drafting each one. Probably takes them 20 hours. Maybe if they're lucky, they'll get one response, right? Because cold outreach takes repetition. On FINNY, every single thing I just mentioned, so that entire workflow could be done in minutes. So actually just in minutes. Like they would just tell FINNY, hey, I'm looking for people who own pharma stores in these zip codes in this area. Research, find us everything there is to know about them. Send them all an email introducing us, and then follow up with a call in 2 days. And that'll actually be done in a matter of minutes. So it's just like, it cannot be overstated enough, the massive amount of time that can be saved. And it's a lot more effective because we're not just a human Googling them, we're actually scrubbing the entire internet for all this information.
I love that. Victoria, do you have something to add on top of that as well?
I would say that the one piece that we constantly think about is that while there are other companies now trying to use AI to do parts of what Eden mentioned, the difference is that we do all of it, right? So we don't just use AI to help, dump a ton of data on advisors. We don't just use AI to prioritize the leads. We are an all-in-one platform. And the product thesis here is that if you have FINNY, you actually don't need any other tools to grow.
I love that. I mean, as somebody who is really hyper-focused on productivity, one of the things that I learned a long time ago was try to do everything with as minimal amount of platforms as you can. If you have a whole bunch of stuff all over the place, it makes it noisy, right?
That's right.
So that's really cool. One of the things that, stood out when I looked at this was the idea of the F score, right? The idea of a matching engine. I think you've described it as like Hinge for financial advisor with clients. Tell me about that. What, for people who don't know what that F score is, what is that?
Yeah, happy to. So F-score stands for FINNY score, and it's actually a proprietary machine learning model that we developed in-house. And all it really does is really understand the advisor's preferences, understand who the advisor is best suited for, what does their book of business look like, who do they have the best chance of success with. So it, on the one hand, predicts that compatibility between the advisor and the prospect, but then on the other hand, it also predicts the prospect's propensity to need a financial advisor, right? Did they go through any money in motion event recently? Did they Google terms like financial planning or advisors near me? All that data are data that we track, and we're able to predict pretty accurately if someone needs a financial advisor and how well they would do with you in particular.
I love that. I love that.
I was just going to say, Christopher, one analogy that we use internally that is potentially helpful is that it's almost similar to Netflix, how Netflix learns what movies you'd like and then keeps recommending more and more of these. We do a very similar thing under the hood.
I love that.
And the thing that I was going to add is, I think it's something that you actually pressed me about before, which was, hey, are you actually, since if you're learning, you're going to at some point, Finny's going to be actually know the advisor's own end client better than themselves. We'll actually be able to predict it better than themselves. And I think that's the secret there, right? Like humans and the human brain are imperfect systems. Machines don't make mistakes. Machines learn from patterns. Human minds have a lot of biases. Like there's a recency bias. And so it's very easy to say, oh yeah, I think I work with this demographic the best. I think I work with this type of person the best. But actually using Finny in the long run, we'll say, mathematically, this is the demographic that's resonating the most. And this is the messaging that's resonating most with this demographic. And so we can actually learn better than the advisor. And I like the term, like, we're actually going to become their second brain, right? Like, we actually, all this knowledge is going to be captive in Finny, and we'll be their second brain, actually helping them find new clients.
I love that. I love that. I'm very picky, right? So for a prospect, for me, I've gotten to a point where I do webinars, twice a month. And if somebody finds me online like cold, I'm less excited about that person than somebody who's attended my webinars over months, because they've kind of gotten to know me. They've gotten to my style. They fit my niche. They're 55 and up. They're state employees. They're about to retire. And so it really helps me narrow. One of the things that you talk about is helping the advisor really find a true fit. How does Finny's technology identify not just prospects, but prospects who are a true fit?
Yeah, so a lot of what we do, I would summarize it into 3 broad buckets that we're using to match on. So the first is the similarity between the advisor and that prospect. So not, and not about what a potential client could need or any offerings, really like human to human. So do they grow up in similar towns? Do they go to similar schools? Do they go to the same school? Do they have similar interests? Do they have kids the same age? Are their behaviors online the same? And I think Victoria can talk a lot about that a little bit more too. But really just showing the similarity, shared experiences, because all of those things are known to actually lead to like a longer, healthier relationship. Probably similar markings when you're looking to find a potential partner in life. And so that's the first. The second thing that Finny is modeling on is the similarity between the prospect and past clients of the advisor. So how much do they look alike, right? And so sometimes an advisor will do really, really well in a specific group of people or a specific demographic. We're going to model it to that. And then the last point is really just how does the advisor services overlap with the client's potential pain points. And so what our platform is able to do really, really well is it ingests a potential prospect and actually predicts what financial pain points they'll be going through based off all of its knowledge that it knows. And then it'll say, do these pain points match up nicely to the advisor's key offerings?
I love that. I love that. I'm smiling real big because when you said it's the same, sort of similar to looking for a partner or in a relationship, I'm writing this book right now and I'm doing a beta read. And so I'm exchanging a beta copy with a a different author, and it's a relationship book on compatibility. It's like 400 pages long.
Oh, that's so
I
funny.
didn't think I was signing up for that. But now I'm deep into the weeds with that. So it's interesting when you mentioned that some of these, I think compatibility with it, having those similar traits with your prospects or your potential clients, right? It makes for an easier relationship over the life of the advisory practice for sure. In what ways does FINNY's multi-channel prospecting system differentiate itself in supporting advisors?
Yeah, I think
Such a good question.
yeah, we think about that all the time. It really ties back to our earlier point of trying to be the only platform that advisors need, right? So naturally, to be able to do that successfully, we need to allow advisors to really touch prospects through multiple channels. Not everyone is equally responsive over email, for example. If you try to reach a retiree over email, good luck to you, right? Versus a tech executive, for example, might be super responsive on LinkedIn. So instead of, forcing the advisors to go down a specific path, what we want to do is give them the toolkit to really meet the prospect where they're at. So tangibly, that means being able to reach out to them via email, via LinkedIn, via an AI voicemail, which is our newest and most exciting feature, via handwritten direct mail that arrives in someone's home with their name on, personalized to them, which obviously, as you can imagine, is super effective for certain segments of the population. But all in all, we want to be that one platform that allows advisors to really, communicate in a way that is hyper personalized to the individual and the most effective that it can be. And for that, we believe that the advisor needs to exist in multiple channels.
I love that. Personally, I'll do things that work and I get in this groove and habit and I say, well, that works. I'll keep doing that. And you just listed 4 or 5 other touch points with prospects. I'm definitely not leaving AI voicemails, right? I mean, these are things that advisors just aren't doing. We're lucky if we get one marketing channel going. So the idea that this is embedded in FINNY's technology, that's awesome. I want to switch gears for a moment and talk about the idea, because we talked about this in the article about human first and human first approach to AI. How can advisors strike the right balance between automation and human touch?
Yeah, that's it's a good question. So I think that as we're talking about all these AI tools and how they're going to affect kind of the future workflow of the advisor, one thing will be more and more important is the future role of the advisor will be centered around that human touch. And so how can the advisor leverage AI not to lose that human touch ever, but to actually deepen and unlock more time for them so that every one of their clients actually gets face time with them and actually feels that really genuine connection. So it's something that Victoria and I talk about quite a bit, actually. It's the idea that prospecting or really great prospecting will automate all the manual repetitive work required. So it'll free up more of that actual face time with the advisor. And so it'll be a mix of that human touch plus the AI to get to a really genuine connection. I think and this is kind of across all industries, not just wealth, the expectation on the consumer side is going to increase. So consumers are going to expect more personalization, more high touch services, just a higher level of service, and AI is going to unlock that. And so the idea is with FINNY, the end client is getting hyper personalized communication from the very beginning. The relationship isn't starting from some cold email from a generic newsletter. It's actually starting with a very personalized outbound, whether it's on LinkedIn, on email, through a phone call, through direct mail. And that like high touch, high service feeling is going to carry through to every interaction, including that first meeting, including that dinner, the webinar, the event that they're hosting. And so some of the most successful prospecting strategies on FINNY is a combination of an in-person event plus AI outreach to get them there. And so it's an AI message that's really personalized to get, hey, I'm hosting an event at a local golf club. Why don't you come by and, we'll do a dinner. It's for other business owners just like you. So, and then leading up to that event, it's all automated communication that feels personalized. At the actual event, that's the time for the advisor to shine and build that really, really personal relationship, but they're not starting from zero, right? They've already built that level of trust and report.
Yep. And it goes back, Christopher, to what you said in the very beginning, which I loved, which is that what we're enabling advisors to do is not be someone that they're not, but rather do more of the thing that they do love. And if you ask most advisors, hardly anyone would say that their favorite thing about their job is, like cold outreach or anything along those lines. With Finny, they can put that on autopilot and really take the time and invest it in the things that they do really enjoy, which is building trust and deepening the relationship.
I love that. I love that. Now I'm going to paint a picture because where we're at, I mean, AI has been around for 20 years, but we've really seen this compounded effect in the last 2 years. And when we even dialed down into fintech, into our field, we saw the note takers, the AI note takers take off, right? That was a big thing, but this is a moving target. And you've got people who are, early adopters who will jump on quickly and be okay with the word AI, right? And then you've got advisors who've been doing stuff for years. And so what I want to talk about are to those people, some of the misconceptions. What are some of those misconceptions that advisors have about AI replacing relationships?
So just so I understand your question correctly, are you saying some advisors are concerned that AI is going to replace them?
Yeah, I mean, as you're talking to advisors out there who are thinking about bringing AI into their practice, there's probably some of those leftover people that have those roadblocks and those objections and just don't like AI altogether. What would you share with them as far as misconceptions on that?
Yeah, no, I think I got it. I think that a lot of advisors are a little bit traumatized from this new technology. I mean, every 10 years, there's a new technology that's claims to be replacing the advisor. And so whether it's, direct indexing, robo advisors, whatever it was, I feel like over the last even 50 years, there's been a new trend of like, advisors are going to be a thing of the past, and they're still here to stay. And I think they've proved and withstood the test of time, but it doesn't mean that there's not some just underlying anxiety and distrust towards this new technology. I think there's two schools of camp amongst those kind of like pushing AI. And one is that AI will replace the advisor. And then the others, which is where Finny lives and a lot of these other tools, is that AI is going to enhance the role of the advisor and actually unlock capabilities for the advisor to focus and do what they want to do more, spend more time on. And I think that to your point, there's a lot of AI fatigue going on. And so the word AI is often being thrown around in places, and every new technology now is AI. And so it could be kind of almost a decision paralysis when you're not sure where to start. And so my recommendation on this is just spend some time thinking about, if you were an advisor, like what are the couple of pain points or areas where you're not feeling super energized, you don't really enjoy doing it every single day. You really wish you can outsource it, either to an assistant or to someone else in your team or to technology. And like those low hanging fruits, those like really small things, test out some tools, right? And then start dipping your toes and really starting to understand like where AI can help and automate a lot of those workflows. It doesn't need to be a total AI revamp. Like no one is asking you to rip out all your existing technology and just replace them with AI. It can just start small. So it can start small with a meeting note taker, with Finny for prospecting, with some tools that just help you draft emails, for example, or help you remember, different appointments. And as you start implementing those and starting to gain trust and understand where your level of comfort is, that's where you can start doing those like bigger implementations.
I love that. That speaks right to it. I mean, you led with the idea of us as advisors being told that we were going to be replaced by robo advisors. There's a whole list of things that we're supposed to replace us, and we're still here. So that's one. But you also mentioned the idea of AI fatigue, that there's so many things out there that people are getting kind of bombarded by these different things that are new to them. And so getting comfortable with what you say, the idea of enhancing, right? Not replacing, but enhancing. In digital Kaizen, I talk about that as well, of it augmenting our role, but not replacing the role as a human. We've got just about 6 minutes or so left in the show. And I wanted to ask you on this, we've got our fingers on the pulse as far as what's going on in the industry right now, but where do you see this all going? Where are we going to be in the next 5 years or so with what you're doing, with what's going on in fintech? What does that look like for you?
Yeah. I'll let Victoria talk about like Finny's specific roadmap and where we're going. But I think where the industry is going is to the super RIA, the super advisor. I think like the last 10 years, the trend was for just holistic advisor that can like have, be a financial planner and also help you with college savings and help with and tax planning. And it became like a ton of different. And then I think this next role is, or this next jump is towards the super advisor that can not only help you with all your needs, but also do it for a lot more people and actually serve a lot more people because a lot of the work, the back office, the type of tools that, or the type of tasks that just really don't scale with the advisor are going to start scaling.
I love that. The super. I'm
100%.
thinking of a big S on my shirt here for. It's like, all right, we're doing a whole bunch. Now we got to do that. Victoria,
that.
what are your thoughts
Yep.
on this?
Yeah, I mean, Eden said it perfectly. Within that super advisor world where we believe we have the right to win, and by we, I mean Finny, is really anything that touches the prospect and client relationship. Because we sit at the very top of the funnel and we own all that data about the prospect, we're actually really well positioned to help advisors keep in touch with, initially the prospect, but eventually that when that prospect turns into a client, that client as well. Put differently, what we want to be is really the organic growth engine for advisors. And if you break that down, what it really means is helping them with the top of funnel, which is what we're doing right now, but then eventually not only helping them with acquisition, but also with client retention. And there's so many, opportunities that lie in plain sight in the advisor's existing book of business. Being able to help an advisor, monitor their client data to know who just got married or whose stock recently appreciated, and empowering them to reach out to them at the perfect time with the perfect message and the perfect insight. That's something that we are incredibly well positioned to do. And actually, a lot of our customers are already pushing us towards that direction. They keep telling us, can I use Finny for my clients? And that's very much like, where we want to go. But yeah, all in the world of organic growth for sure.
I love it. I love it. So the idea of organic growth, helping us with that funnel, acquisition, retention. You mentioned these life events, and this is what Eden had mentioned earlier, that second brain. I can remember maybe 5, 7 things tops, right? Like chew gum and walk at the same time. And then we've got people getting married, kids going through college, all of these different life events. And it's very hard for advisors to keep on top of it, but it's what's key to keeping connected and having those relationships. Eden, Victoria, thank you so much for being on the show today. For listeners who'd like to find out more about Finny, where can they go to find out more information?
You can just go to our website. So it's www.finnyai.com. We post everything there. We also are very active on LinkedIn. So you can just look up Finny AI on LinkedIn. We're often posting there. We had a couple of great threads recently with Jason Wang, the CEO of Ultrist, and a few others who are engaging with our content. So LinkedIn is where we're most active. Our website has all our information. And if they want to book a demo, they can go to our website too.
I love it. I love it. So go find them on LinkedIn, book a demo if you're interested in finding out more about Finny. And with that, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks so much, Christopher, for having us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.